Hello, so for our exercise 11, we will look at sound. We will look and listen to sound, okay? I will create an application that will play two different sounds. So first, you should download some short sounds that we can use or retrieve from your computer. I recommend freesound.org. It's a website I've been using quite a bit. Actually, for my PhD, I collaborated with Freesound.org at the University Pompeu Fabra. My PhD supervisor was from that university, so I was lucky to be able to work with them. And it's a great team, and it's a great service, and it's free, as the name implies. So I recommend that you use it for sounds. Also, pay attention to the permissions and the kind of the Creative Commons license they are in, but it can be quite useful. So I will create a new exercise with a project generator, and this will be, so I'll put it in my usual folder, which is the GMC folder, and I'm gonna call this exercise 11 sound player. Okay, generate, open in IDE. Great. So I already downloaded some sounds, like I mentioned, just to speed up the process. This is one of them, and this
10,
is
9, 8.
The other one. So they are contrasting sounds, and I think could be interesting to play them together. So I will put these sounds in the bin data folder of my exercise, which is in apps, SoundPlayer, bin data. Here they go. Okay. Now they have some funny names that I will not remember, so I'll use copy paste to load them. So what classes are we going to use for this project? Well, the sound player class. So we have the sound module, and in the sound module we have sound buffer. Buffer is quite an important concept in sound. It's where the sound gets stored before being played, or before between your speakers. So the buffer kind of stands between your processor and your speakers, right? It's where the sound gets written to or read from. And SoundStream is useful for using the microphone as input. The sound device manages the kind of sound interface that you might have, and SoundStream settings relate to the SoundStream, as the name implies. And the sound player, this is what we will use. So to be frank with you, the sound module of openFrameworks is not very rich, not as let's say the sound library for processing or something like that. So usually, if you want to use add-ons, you either use if you want to use sound, you either use add-ons or you use bridges to other sound libraries, right? And you have sound libraries as add-ons, or you have these bridges as add-ons as well. And for those of you interested in a bit deeper type of sound, going deeper in sound than what we will do here with SoundPlayer, I can show you at least one good add-on for sound. So yeah, with SoundPlayer you do some basic sound stuff, playing, stopping, looping, controlling the volume, controlling the pan, left, right pan. Then you can control the playhead. You can jump to a certain position in percentage to the middle, let's say, of the song, or to certain milliseconds. You can change the speed, and that's quite interesting. We're going to play with that. And for the next exercise, we're going to take a look at this. We can get the spectral data of the sound in terms of FFT, fast Fourier transform analysis of the frequencies. So let's get to it. So I have two sounds, so I'm going to create two of SoundPlayer objects of SoundPlayer. I'm going to call sound1, and maybe I'll instantiate them at the same time, and sound2 in the same line. Okay, then you know the routine for this kind of situations. If you have some kind of media objects, you need to load the media to the media object, and then you need to do something with it. In this case, it's to play the sound, right? So sound1 load. So for loading the sound, you have the load function, and the load function is simple. You just add the string in there, which is the file name. And as I said, I don't remember this, so I will basically just add here, and for the second one, I will put sound to load, and then I will do like this. Okay, so I'm going to split up my screen in two. If I click on the left, I play sound 1. If I click on the right, I play sound 2. Okay. So to know where the middle of the screen is, I'm going to draw a line. So I'm going to say of draw line, and the line is drawn with two coordinates, the beginning of the line and the end of the line. I'm going to say that the line starts, well, the line is always in the middle in the x-axis, so it's of get width divided by 2, right? In the y-axis, I'll start drawing on top, for example, and then again, the x is always in the middle of get width divided by 2, and then the y stops in the of get height pixel, right? And we have a line. Then we can say if when in mouse pressed, for example, I have mouse pressed down there, so I'm going to collapse a little bit some of these functions so that it's a little bit cleaner and you can see everything. I might need to do more space savings just to make everything, and collapse this one. Okay, so on mouse pressed, you can say if you press the mouse, if the mouse press has occurred to the left of the middle, then you play the sound 1. If the mouse has been pressed to the right of the middle, then you play sound 2. What is the middle? Actually, here I can use either mouse X, the kind of my regular property for mouse, or here in mouse press I get X as the mouse X, which is kind of shorter. I like shorter things as long as it's clear and understandable. So we can say that if X, and X here stands for mouse X, if X is lower than of get width divided by 2, sound 1 dot play. So play is the method to play the sound. Else sound to play. Okay, so if you've clicked to the left of the middle, it plays 1. Else meaning you've clicked to the right. So it's either, we only have 2 halves. We don't have more than 2 halves, right? So that should be it for the basic initial thing. Let's see how it goes. So we should have a line in the middle, and then I should be able to click.
Ten, 9, 8, 7.
On the left,
6, 5.
I have this
4,
glitchy sound.
3, 10, 10.
And on the right,
9,
I have
8.
this voice, right? Okay, so far so good. It's not really interesting so far. So I would like to play with a couple of things. One is the volume, and the other one is the speed. Then we can create a little bit like a mixer, kind of tape recorder that you can accelerate, decelerate, etc. So how would we do this? So we should create a mapping between, for example, the mouse and the volume. So when you press, so in this function here, I can say that whenever I press, I can map the point where it was pressed to the volume, right? So let's create, well, first let's take a look at what is the volume in the SoundPlayer. So set volume is how you set a volume. So set volume goes in a 0 to 1 range. 0 is silent and 1 is full volume. So this is kind of a float, unsigned float type of range. So let's create 2 floats, volume 1 and volume 2. Okay. So let me create 2 floats here in H. Float volume 1, volume 2. Okay. Now, when we press, we can say that we can map the volume to the mouse, and we can say like a mixing desk, right? So if you have a fader, the volume, like intuitively, the volume will be maximum on the top of the screen and it will be minimum on the bottom of the screen. So we can say volume 1 dot so equals of map, and we're gonna map the Y in this case, and the Y goes from 0 to of get height, right? And we're gonna map this range to the volume range. So when it's 0, I want to map 0 to 1 to maximum. So 0 is the top. I want to map 0 to 1. And then of get height is the bottom. I want to map that to 0. Right? And then I can say sound 1 set volume to be volume 1. The reason I have the volume here, we could have done all the mapping here and actually have done away with the variable volume, but later I want to draw this and show you these values, so we can draw as a bitmap string. We can draw these things. Great. So we have the volume for volume 1. Actually, I can copy paste this, and it's going to be exactly, actually, I can copy paste the whole thing and put it in the else. And here it would be volume 2, and then sound 2 set volume 2. Okay. So let's try this out. If the code is correct, if I click to play the sound in the bottom of the screen, it will be quite silent, and if I press it and then a bit more up, it will be louder. So let's see how it goes. Yeah, so here the sound is quite low, and here it's quite
10.
here it's quite low, right? Great. Now I could actually draw also these volumes if I want. I can say of draw bitmap string. So if you want to draw a float as a string, it will not do it right away. You need to do something called type conversion. You need to convert the number to text, right? And this is of to string. And here we can draw volume 1. So I want to draw volume 1, let's say in pixel 10, 10. And let's say that I want to draw the same thing, copy paste volume 2, but it's not going to be 10, right? It's going to be of get width divided by 2 plus 10, so that this is drawn on the second half of the screen. And this is not volume 1, it's volume 2, right? So in the beginning, there is no volume to be drawn, right? So I'm just concerned what we should have a default volume that gets drawn. And I can say volume 1, instead of having volume 1 equals 1, volume 2 equals 2, I can put here volume 1 equals volume 2 equals 1. Okay, so I set them both at the same time. And then I would have a default number that gets shown on the screen even before I click anything, right?
10, 9.
Great. So that's it for now. I want to add a little twist here. Actually, I don't like that I have to scroll up and down to show you the code, and I guess on your side of things it's a bit, you get a bit dizzy just seeing all this scrolling going on. So I'm going to cut the mouse press code, and I'm actually going to paste it here in a location that is more convenient for us, which is just below the draw. Okay, then I should have done this a while ago. Less going up and down with the scrolling. So what else can we do? I would like to do, I like playing with speed a lot. So we can do a kind of similar type of logic for speed. Okay. So let's create two variables as well for the speed. So float speed 1, speed 2, and let's check the speed code in SoundPlayer. So set speed sets the playback speed of sound. 1 is normal speed, 2 is twice the normal speed, etc. Right? And 0 would be, you know, it would be like stopped in a way. So let's do the same thing. What we could do as well, speed in setup, speed 1 equals, set the default speed 2 equals 1. Okay, and we could draw a couple of bitmap strings. We could draw a bitmap string also for the speed, right? So we could have here the first pair could be for volume, and I could type here a string. If I want to join this string volume plus the number, I can use plus as a concatenation. So concatenation means joining strings together. So the plus here is not adding numbers, is adding a piece of text to gluing it to another piece of text. So that's what I want to put here. And then we could have a similar code, right, for the speed. So I'm just copy pasting this, and I'm going to replace volume with speed here, volume with speed there, but this will be speed 1, and this will be speed 2, and y, in terms of y axis, this will be pixel, let's draw it a little bit down from where we have it, so pixel 20, so that the speed will sit below the volume in the screen. Okay, so far so good. Now we're doing these mappings for volume. Let's do a mapping for speed. So let's say that if I click left of the screen, it will be very slow. For sound 1, if I tap closer to the middle of the screen, it will be maximum speed, it will be double the speed, let's say. So I want to have a range from 0 to 2. And I'm going to do the same thing for the second half of the screen. So let's get to it. Speed 1 equals of map. Now I'm mapping x. And x goes from 0 to of, for sound 1, goes from 0 to of get width divided by 2. So I'm mapping this to the speed, and I want the speed to be between 0, which is extremely slow if not stopped, and 2, which is twice as fast. And then I want to say sound 1 set speed 1. Okay, does it make sense? I hope so. We're going to copy this code. We're going to also add it to the sound 2. But the mapping will going to be quite different. So x, the minimum of x will be the middle, which is the maximum of x in the previous sound. And the maximum will be of get width. Okay, so for speed 2, it will go from of get width divided by 2 to of get width. Then the mapping is the same. Then we're going to set for sound 2 speed 2. I hope with all this copy pasting, I hope I didn't forget to change anything here. And let's see how this goes, and let's see how this sounds. Now I have a lot of code because there's a lot of copy pasting involved. So I'll try again to do some space savings here. And I think now I almost managed to have everything in one screen. If I can do some kind of space savings if I get rid of my dock. Ah, beautiful. Everything fits in one screen. I love it. So let's play. Do you see the numbers there for speed? So this is very slow speed. I'm in middle of the volume. Okay.
10. 10.
So here
9.
you can really hear the difference in speed, right? You have with the low, especially with the voice, it's really apparent that you have this transformation also in the pitch. So the lower the speed, the lower the pitch, the higher the speed, the higher speed. Let's try to invert the speed. What if I, instead of 0, what if I have -2 in the voice? Does it go backward? So it may behave differently for WAV and for MP3s. Please note that sound 2 is a WAV and sound 1 is an MP3. So
10.
no, it doesn't go backwards. Let's try with the MP3. Probably it doesn't go backwards as well. Just trying it out. openFrameworks, they have been changing this for a while. Also, the sound engines of openFrameworks have changed. I do remember that it went backwards at some point. No, it doesn't go. It only plays forward.
10.
Which is fine. So
9.
it's just a proof of concept. So there is no negative speed. Okay. So I'll go reset the -2 to 0. I remember in some past editions of openFrameworks where you could, and it was quite fun to have things going backwards. So what else could we do? We can talk about something which it's also fun to play with, which is multiplay. We can set loop if we want to loop a sound. We can, and also I want to. So we just set loop to true. But let me show you multiplay. So let's try with a voice, for example. So sound 2. Set multiplay to true. And I hope this works with both MP3s and WAVs. I'll demonstrate what it means is that you can have, so normally multiplay is false. So when you play a sound of the same sound, it will stop the previous playback and starts a new one.
10. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
So do you hear the multiplay creates this kind of choir, which is really interesting, especially when it changed the pitch, right? Then you have these kind of different, almost like a choir of voices playing. It can be quite fun. And I could set multiplay to sound 1 as well, and it would be pretty obvious. But for sound 1, I'll probably try the set loop so that you hear two different things: the sound 1 looping and the sound. Then to loop, it would be good to stop. But well, we can continue building this forever, and actually I have continued building this quite a bit, and I made an app out of it called AV Zones, which is basically this idea of the XY pads. But in that app, I have 9 XY pads. Here we have 2, and with a lot of effects and the sequencer. And then I continued expanding this. So here, what I did was just made it loop, right? It is looping, it's just that there's a little bit of silence to the end of this sound, so for a while I thought, is it looping? But it is looping, right?
10.
10, 9, 8, 7, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. 10, 4, 9, 3, 8, 2, 7, 1, 6, 0, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Well, I hope you have fun playing with it and adding different sounds and using different values and trying out different things. I think it's really good fun if you're into sound. You can really do a lot. You can really do a lot with simple playback mechanisms, especially if you have kind of pitch shifting. It's pretty amazing what you can do. But for more advanced things, I can show you. Let me know if you're interested. It's gonna be more kind of more targeted tutoring. Not everybody is interested in that. I can show a sound engine in openFrameworks, which the one I use is Maximilian, but you can use quite others as well. So that's it for this SoundPlayer exercise.